Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce one of my personal dear friends. I've known her for almost 8 years, which is absolutely crazy. It's amazing how fast time
Is it
flies.
true it would have been 9, but she was late the first one? Is it true? No? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is tremendous, but no, seriously though, she's a very, very dear friend of mine. We know each other for a really long time. She is getting ready for internationals in just 4 short weeks. Very, very exciting stuff. And now she's here to talk about it with you, Mr. Mike Grande, and thank you for having me for a short time. I appreciate it. But now
it was great to have you. Thank you. This
is
you're like the Ed McMahon. I'm the Johnny Carson, right? This is a great intro.
Megan is on. Say hi to Megan.
Hey, Megan. But no, in all seriousness, though, it's time for me to turn over this microphone to the true star of this interview, my dear friend Jacqueline DiPasquale.
All right. Well, me lady.
Well, Mr. Grande.
We did start the podcast at 7, so for those who are just so we could just go right into it now. So what a great introduction, by the way.
Oh, I know. He's the best of the best. I'm going to just preface this by saying...
There was traffic.
No.
There was traffic.
My brother needed to stop for Chick-fil-A, and he has the proof in his hand.
It was actually for your son.
Oh.
No, I got some too.
And by the way, it's funny because when this podcast, and this is going to be one of the best podcasts, but when this, your whole family was here, including your brother at the time, and now nobody knew Adam, but they left as friends, my son Sal and Adam.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, my son's like, every time I invite Adam, it's like 7 o'clock. He doesn't come until 11:30. He's like 4.5 hours late. He's almost early for the next party. He's never on time for that party. And it's so consistent. And the apple didn't fall too far from the tree.
Hey, listen. If you want to blame anyone for, for the lateness gene, that was my mother.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Now you're
That's
just
my mother.
okay. Well, it was a great interview. I actually was, going back and forth with you. You're gonna love it. This is gonna be a great interview. So, let's go back to the pageantry and stuff like that. So, there's a couple of things. I was there when you were all dolled up. You were absolutely stunning.
Oh,
Beautiful.
thank
you.
you.
Look great, and you were going to revolutionize, and you look toned. You look very, very, very great. But you almost were like the MC handing over the crown to the next person.
Yes.
But the one thing that I learned is you wanted to wait until, and forgive me if I'm not saying this right. You wanted to wait until the pageantry came back live. You didn't want to do this during COVID. You wanted to go up live on stage with last year's and then compete again for this year. Is that right?
So if you're referencing going to internationals,
yes.
So the reason why I chose to defer was actually because of my grandmother being in and out of the hospital with congestive heart failure. And my family and I are the primary caretakers of her and my grandfather.
I got it.
So in the height of COVID, I just felt that it was not safe for me to travel to Tennessee at that time.
Got it. Was there a competition though?
Yes, there was.
It was in person?
Yes, it was in person, but they were very careful at internationals, and I give them major credit for it. They were very careful with giving the girls temperature checks as well as wearing masks 90% of the time and then socially distancing on stage. They took every protocol they needed to do necessary in order to put on a live show and do it safely.
Guys, so just curious, how many people do you know how many people competed that time?
I'd like to say, Marion, correct me if I'm wrong, I think I was actually going to... I was going to say less. I think it might have been 16.
That you would have went up against?
Yes, I think so. It was like a couple less than...
So how many now do you go up against?
I think there's 18 other girls, as far as I know.
Okay, so there's a little bit more.
Yes, so a little bit more.
Got it. What's the states? Do you know what those states are?
So far, I know of New York, there's a Florida, Texas, Illinois, North Dakota, South Dakota, Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot. And then there's a couple of countries coming in, Haiti and Ukraine.
Oh, really?
Yes, which I am so
You gotta
excited.
watch those Russian women, though. They were like, I kill you if I don't win. Right?
Now Miss Ukraine's going to be yelling at you for
it. We're going to have to edit that one. This is one hell of a podcast, right?
Elena?
Oh, I know, because I know sometimes they get a little, they get, very competitive, those,
Well, you could say the same about us Italian
That's
women,
true.
too.
That's true. That's true. That's true. But the Russians are always on time. Always on time.
Again, blame my brother. It's my
Adam,
brother's
I don't
fault.
believe
He
that
can
it's
hold
you.
up your Chick-fil-A.
Oh my gosh! So there's a couple of things that we had the beautiful Miss Megan Vladik. Is Megan still on? Because she was absolutely and beautiful Sarah
girls.
Campbell. Sarah Campbell does look like Beauty and the Beast. She looks like Belle.
Oh, I know she does.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Yeah. I thought she was gonna spin around and then maybe her husband was gonna turn into a beast. But that didn't happen. He was just a handsome guy. So the one thing I did ask Megan was, and I see a lot of your social media, and I said, Megan, how do you go out and find guys? Don't you intimidate the hell out of them? I mean, you too, because you are all over social media. You got this crown on, and how intimidated do you think men are? I mean, I don't know what your personal life is, but what is it like? Do people like, oh, I don't want to talk to her because I'm intimidated, or she's too good for me, she's too pretty? What is it like?
It's funny. I think I see an interesting mix. I'll see some men who will come right up to me, and especially when I have my crown and sash on, I'll get a lot of older men who will approach me and ask for pictures or direct message me in my Instagram. And
Like sugar daddies? Oh my God! Jacqueline Sugar Daddy DiPasquale. That's got a really great ring to it. I think we have a great little tagline.
Oh my goodness.
So go ahead.
So it's most of the time those are the men who are approaching me. I do see very often that men my age don't approach me all that often.
Really?
I do think they might be a little bit intimidated, and I think part of that is just because of the number of accomplishments that I have, because I'm not just Miss Garden State. I have my master's degree in communication. I've been working at a national civil engineering firm for 4.5 years as a marketing coordinator. I've received a lot of honors and awards throughout my life, and I give myself credit for that because I know I've worked really hard to achieve all of those things, but I think that sometimes it might
That's
be
very
intimidating.
yeah.
I think it can be a little bit intimidating, and then they think, oh, well, like you were saying, oh, she's too pretty, she's too accomplished, she's too this, she's too that. There's no way that I would ever have
So maybe
a shot at her.
a sugar daddy is in your future?
How about no?
So I guess I should ask your brother Adam. Adam, is that true, all that stuff?
What?
I mean, the fact that people are intimidated. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. Every time you were up there, Adam was like, yeah, that's my sister! That's my sister! Right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's, so, when you guys go out, is that the way it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he's in a bunch of school plays, well, that was growing up, or whenever he has a gig with his band, I'm the same exact way, screaming my head off, saying, that's my brother, that's Adam.
It sounds like it's a lot to live up to meet your level of what your guy is going to be. What is your perfect guy then?
My perfect guy is someone who's Christian. That's something that I really value in because I was raised as Christian. Someone who is honest, trustworthy, loving, selfless, very, very funny, because for me, I am goofy, but I have my moments where I can be very serious. So I kind of need someone who can like pull me into that funny mode.
Got it.
So
You know what Megan said? The first thing she said, they got to be 6'4" or tall, and I'm like, you just wiped out the entire Italian population, and that was 6'4", but she's ginormous, yeah.
Yeah, see, I'm 5'3", so I basically have the pick of the litter for the most part.
That's exactly right. As long as they make you laugh.
I'm sorry, Megan.
No, she's not. But Megan, we were talking about The Bachelorette. You were there too. You were at last week's podcast.
Yes, I was.
Right. And so let's talk about a little bit now of your platform. So I've noticed that you had 1 in 5, and I was listening to a lot of your 1 in 5 podcasts, but there was only one this year in February.
Yes.
And that was it. What happened to that podcast? Did you stop doing the podcast? Or?
So I am still going with the podcast. It's just that I've taken my time to really apply to other ways to grow my platform, 1 in 5 from Bully to Yield. One of those ways is I've actually recently met with a couple of gentlemen who work in the U.S. House of Representatives to help start a grant program in the state of New Jersey, which means that it'll create competitive grants, and those will be spread to schools in the state of New Jersey, and then schools will be able to use those grants in order to better educate their students about the signs and effects of bullying. So that is one big aspect that I am working on right now, which I am so incredibly excited about. And then the other opportunity I've had is speaking to schools. So most recently I have spoken to a school in California. Obviously it was a virtual case for me because of COVID, and I agree it's the safest way to do it. The other thing too is I'm also an ambassador of Human Being Mankind. It's a company that has these really cool clothes, and I wish I brought a shirt to show everybody, but they actually donate half of their profits to various nonprofits, and they change the nonprofit every month. In addition, I am in the process of becoming a community ambassador for the national anti-bullying nonprofit Stand for Kind.
Wow, you've got a lot of things going on.
So yes, it's very exciting, and my podcast, I hold it so nearly and dearly to my heart. But I don't want my platform to just be defined by my podcast. I want it to be defined as an ambassador for Stand for Kind, as an ambassador for Human Being Mankind, as for this grant program that I'm trying to start in the state of New Jersey.
So what about now cyberbullying? Because that's a big thing, especially now that kids were doing everything in school. How have you approached that? Is there any way to actually tackle that? Because it's usually between a kid and two kids on a computer, and then they delete the conversation. So what would you tell parents about that? How can they monitor that kind of stuff and make sure that their kids are okay?
So parents really could monitor it. It sounds so simple, but just by having their kids' account information, and a lot of times kids may not give it out to them, especially if they're a teenager and they might not want to see.
Right.
You know, they might not want mom and dad to see some of the things that they're following on social media. But that's really the simplest solution. Other solutions is to contact your police force, and that's if the case
Police force for cyberbullying?
Yes. So the only case when you really can do that though is when there's a physical threat made or when that threat has been followed through.
Wow.
Unfortunately, there is a very fine line with cyberbullying. However, I know that from a federal standpoint, they've taken some really, really great steps to protect certain communities, so the LGBTQ community and also children with disabilities. And they do that specifically for kids in school.
What I found, and I'm sorry to interrupt, this is a very strange thing that I found with the Los Angeles police. My daughter moved out to California, and some guy was trying to break into her apartment. Now, she sees him through the peephole, she's frightened, she's curled up in the corner with her dog, and she sees the handle coming in. The guy's trying to break in, it's on camera, the police come, and they say, there's nothing that we can do because he didn't break in yet. So how do you as a police officer say that to an 18-year-old kid who's curled up in the corner scared to death? That's one. But how do the police deal with cyber security or cyber bullying at that point? You have to have a literal threat to the kid before they can really?
Yes.
That's just the wrong way to do. I don't know. What do I know?
Because
right?
I know myself, I was cyberbullied in high school. I was also stalked in college by a couple of boys, and I had spoken to the police about it, but again, there was nothing that could be done because once again, there was no physical threat that was made. So there is a very fine line, and that's something that I'd like to also work on is advancing the protections of students against cyberbullying.
Got it. So what I did learn, which I didn't know that this was how it worked, which was great because I absolutely loved going to that the gala, you want to call it, right? What do you call it? The gala. They ask questions. You pick out of a bowl, and they ask questions. And Mary said, yeah, asking questions. And the interview process is a very important part of what you guys are doing. So with that said, I wanted to ask you some current events type of questions because I remember the beautiful Miss Campbell as asked about, I think something political about voting. And I loved her, the fact that she stood up and she's like, even though I look like Belle and I'm beautiful, yeah, I think you should get your ass and vote. I think you should get up and hand those votes in.
Yes.
And I didn't think I thought she was going to be totally politically correct because the right answer is, well, whatever works best for you, but she took a stand. So I think that probably plays a really big role in the answer. Is that right? Like your opinion must really play a big role as opposed to just giving like a cookie cutter answer.
It's not necessarily the answer, but how you present it.
Yes,
Okay.
that's absolutely the key of it. So, yeah, so you just have, if you do want to express your opinion, you just have to do it in a way that's classy and has
Let's do
character
it.
and integrity.
This
and
is
then
great.
it also shows understanding for the opposite point of view.
Well, let's do it. You ready?
Okay.
Okay, so this is the first time in the history of the United States that we have a woman vice president. And a lot of folks are saying, hey, there's a lot of things going on at this border. I mean, when Trump was here, not to say that I'm pro-Trump or not pro-Trump, but when Trump was here, the border was closed. There weren't people coming in, illegal people coming in. There weren't babies being, kidnapped to be brought over. Drug cartels were unable to penetrate. We had fences that they couldn't get over. And now with this new administration, they've literally opened the floodgates, literally. And if you see the difference between what Trump's gate was and what Biden's gate was, there's a 6-foot chain link fence, and what Trump had was a fence which was 18 feet high that had no way to climb up. So evidently you could just climb over the fence. The big thing now is Kamala Harris, the vice president, the first female vice president. They're asking her, hey, why aren't you going to the border and trying to fix this? I mean, it's been now 5 or 6 months. You've been talking a big game. There are families that are either dying of COVID or bringing over people who don't like kidnapping babies and saying, oh, this is my child.
Yes.
What would you do if you were the vice president in charge of the border? Because this is a question that I don't even know how you'd answer.
In my personal opinion, I would close the borders, and I would do that in protection not just of our citizens, and that is our top priority, is protecting the citizens of the United States, but also in protection of these poor helpless children that are being brought into the United States by very, very dangerous coyotes.
Yeah.
It's extremely dangerous, and I think that's key. We need to protect our rising generations.
Yeah,
and
I agree with that statement.
And the best way to do that is to close the borders. And now I know there's many people out there who would disagree with me on that.
But why do you think they would disagree? Because that's a great question.
Well, because there are many countries such as Venezuela that are in very, very dangerous situations right now, very dangerous revolutions. And so they want to come to the United States in order to find that protection for themselves and their families. So I completely understand that. So one thing that I've always commented on this is that I think that the United States should speed up their citizenship process. I believe at this point it takes about 10 years for someone to become a U.S. citizen. There's no reason why we should speed up that process by a little bit. And I think that that would help control the issues at the border, at least a little
That's an amazing answer. I'm just going to give you a round of applause. That's an amazing answer.
Thank you.
I would say that you would win if that was the question. So you should maybe ask them. Maybe we could talk about the border. But
Yeah.
so do you? But no. Do you know what the Biden administration? I'm not sure of the exact number, but the Biden administration said, "Why don't we do this, ladies and gentlemen? Let's send them $98 million to Mexico to fix their economy so people won't leave." To me, that seems a little unfair when we could sure use it in our economy, especially with all the businesses that have closed down.
Yes.
Where's your stance on that?
Again, the American people should be the top priority.
Yeah.
Those funds should be going into our small businesses. I come from a town where our small businesses have been severely hurt. And we need to protect those because that is the foundation of our nation. That's
Yeah.
the foundation of our nation's economy. And many people tend to forget that.
Wow, that's you. I'm telling you, you'd win just on these answers. If I'm
sweet.
going to
Thank
be
you. I
up there,
appreciate
maybe
it.
you can get me up there with the New Jersey Internationals.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you can just stand right beside me. I'll do my platform
Yeah.
speech, and I'll be like, "Okay, here's Mr. Grande's platform speech."
And we'll have
ladies and gentlemen."
Constantine with his hair all
Oh,
like this.
I know.
We got that? So yeah, we could do that. But by the way, those are great answers. And you know what? They're not like politically stanced. You're talking about what's best for Americans, not what's best for And everybody deserves a chance. But there is a right way. Maybe we can shorten it from 10 years to 2 years. That's a brilliant answer. By the way, you're not just beautiful. She's got brains too. That's another thing. So you're intimidating that way. So the next thing is as far as growth. So now I'm a big believer of growing and reading lots of books.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm reading a book called Range right now. It's a great book. I read books all the time. What books do you read? What was the last book that you read and why?
Oh my goodness! If I'm talking about a novel.
Not so much a novel. I like reading, like whether it's you call it self-help or like anything like that. Like something that makes you grow. Not something like Beauty and the Beast. I'm talking about like a book. There's so many books out there, but
Yes.
Think and
yes.
Grow Rich, for example, is a great book that I always refer to. The Traveler's Gift, one of my favorites. This one happens to be Range that I'm reading. Steve Schwartzman just came out with a great book, the guy from Blackstone. Matthew McConaughey, Green Lights, an amazing book, and I'm learning everything about all these people, and I grow. The one takeaway I got from Matthew McConaughey, and if you read about his story, he is an amazing man. He stopped doing these romantic comedies because he really wanted to be taken serious. So he decided to not take any more of these romantic comedies. So people were throwing millions of dollars. Matthew, we'll give you $5 million. Matthew will give. He said, nope. So for 18 months, he didn't do a movie, and then all of a sudden, they started coming in tenfold. So that's when there was that Dallas movie when he became that. He was the AIDS. He had AIDS. I forgot the.
That doesn't sound familiar to
Yeah,
me.
he
but I
won.
do
He
love
won
him.
his
He's
first.
great.
It was a ginormous movie for him. But he said the one thing that I've learned in my entire career is be the target and not the arrow. And I use that line every day whenever I do something. So, what is the last book, self-help book, or book that you've read that you can say you've grown from?
It's the same book that I've read my whole life, and that's the Bible. I find so much self-growth from that. I cannot begin
Give
to
me an
tell you.
example. Yeah, give me.
So I think about a certain Bible verse that always has stuck with me throughout my life, and it's Jeremiah 29:11, and it talks about, "For I know the plans that I have for you, plans for hope and a future." It's the Bible verse that I put into my middle school yearbook when I was graduating 8th grade, and the same Bible verse that I put into my senior year yearbook when I was graduating from high school. And that Bible verse has always stuck to me because I went through some really difficult, painful times from elementary school through high school and even beyond that with being bullied. So by having those few Bible verses ingrained in my mind really helped me to stay true to who I am and to not knock myself down either.
Right.
Because when you're someone like me who has grown up being bullied, it's so easy for you to start saying negative things about yourself. And even to this day, I still struggle with it.
Really?
I do, yes, to this day. And reading the Bible and taking that time to have my daily devotions and having that one-on-one
Do you do that
time with
daily?
God. Yes, I do.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, it's like a meditation for you then, I suppose, right? Or
Not necessarily, no. It's just basically that I open up the Bible and I'll read, let's say, chapter 1 in the book of Deuteronomy, or read a chapter in Psalms. And I'll read through it. I'm always writing notes. I'm a very meticulous note taker.
Wow.
Very meticulous note taker. And I'll write down what the verse actually means and what it means to me and how I could apply it to help myself to grow, not just myself as Jacqueline DiPasquale, but in my relationship with Jesus as Miss Garden State, as international, as a daughter, as a sister, a cousin, and a friend.
wow, that was a great answer.
Thank
I'm
you.
telling you, you're really prepared for this. I mean, these were questions that I just threw out because when I spoke to Mary a while back, she's like, it's really all about learning how to be interviewed. And I think you presented really, really, really well.
Thank you.
So that's great. So I guess then the next couple of questions is one thing we forgot to mention in the last podcast was about a family member, which is Dominic the Donkey.
Oh, my Uncle Louie, that's
There you
the
go.
Monty.
Could you please tell the audience about Dominic the Donkey?
Dominic the Donkey.
Like
is-
chicka-cha-chingy, ongy, it's Dominic the Donkey. Yeah. So that's exactly it. So you're related to this guy.
Yes, I am.
Holy cow! And
Yes.
where's the relationship?
So he is I believe in, my dad might be yelling at me. He's probably on the Instagram live right now. He is
Who,
my...
Dominic the Donkey?
No,
No, I mean the guy that wrote it.
the guy that wrote it. I'd be pretty scared if I was related to a donkey.
No, who's the guy? Who is he on the Instagram? You think he's watching right now?
No, my Uncle Louie passed away many years ago.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yes,
Oh
he did.
man.
Yes. I would say it was maybe just a few years before I was born. I think it was sometime in the 1980s, but I might be wrong on that. My dad knows a lot better than me. That's why he'd be yelling at me right now, like, no, that's wrong.
What's his
Daddy."
name? What's his name?
My
You're
great uncle.
not the guy who wrote Dominic.
Lou Monty.
Lou Monty.
Yes.
Wow.
Lou Monty. So he was my great uncle.
So he came from Italy, right? Did he sing on that, or you wrote the song?
I believe he wrote the song, as far as I
Adam,
know.
did he write the song, or did he sing the song?
I think he did write
Did
the
he
song.
sing and write the
Wrote it
song?
and sang it.
Yeah.
Did-
I'm
There-
almost positive.
yeah,
So that's
I'm
his
almost
voice?
positive. Yeah.
That's his real. That's when you hear Dominic the Donkey, you're hearing your great uncle.
great uncle.
Is that true?
It was Dad's grandma's brother.
Yeah,
Then I'm related to
great-great-uncle.
him at this
Yeah,
point.
that's
At
correct.
this point, he's just as much my uncle as yours.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
everybody's
he's
uncle.
all,
He's
come on.
everybody's uncle.
Oh, I thought this was like a whole thing that we were going to expose. All
Well,
right.
my dad, and again, I wish my dad was here because he could talk about growing up, that my Uncle Louie would sit and play the guitar for him
Wow,
and
that's
my aunt
awesome.
and my uncle, and my dad has such fond memories with him. to this very day, we actually just played a whole bunch of Lou Monte songs for Father's Day because
Wow.
otherwise my mom yells at him. She can't stand
Really?
my Uncle Louie's music. She can't stand it. She does not like it at
Wow, we are breaking barriers here, ladies and
My
gentlemen.
mom does not like that music at all, and
Wow.
even
Mostly because of his reputation.
oh yeah, he does not have the best. Well, did not have the best reputation.
What kind of reputation?
He was part of gangs. and-
Big time mob.
Yeah,
With
mob.
Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, he could be like on the Gangsters TV show on A&E, right? You could see him.
Yes, he knew Frank Sinatra. He was friends with him.
What?
He got into
Yes.
it. Yeah, Frank Sinatra got him into it.
Oh, this is better than The Bachelorette, Megan. Better than The Bachelorette. Holy mackerel.
And Frank Sinatra is on my mom's side of the family. He is our favorite artist.
Oh, but wait a second. If you recall, your grandmother, although she flubbed the words a couple of times, didn't she? But she was able to sing the Frank Sinatra song, I Have Dreamed, my favorite Frank Sinatra song. Did your grandfather ever see that?
I don't think he did, as far as I know.
What kind of grandfather doesn't see his granddaughter on a podcast?
Well, unfortunately, he does have Parkinson's, and
Oh.
it's really advanced for him. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, so
I'm
his
sorry.
yeah, it's okay. So his memory kind of goes in and out for him. So
Got it. Well,
yeah.
she did a great job. I
Yes,
have dreamed. Oh, I love Sinatra.
She would love to hear that. I'll have to tell her after
Yes.
the podcast that Mr. Grande said.
Well, no. And did she ever hear that back when we did the podcast with her singing
I
into?
think she did.
Did she?
I think mom played it for her.
Oh, well, there you go. I know I didn't show it to her, but I bet you that our mom did.
That's
Yes.
right. So you're in charge of also your social media, right?
Yes, my pageant social media, and then I'm actually also in charge of my workplace's social media.
Wow, that's great.
Yes.
That's great. So what we did last time is we ended off on a different kind. Well, we ended off with my question, but I have a different question because now this is your second time here.
Yes, so you got to crank it up.
I absolutely do. By the way, I think this is a great vibe, right? I mean,
Always.
it's
I
just a
love
great.
it.
No, you're easy to talk to and you're super great. So and it's so easy to just have a great conversation. So me and my Italian hands, Adam.
Me too.
Right? So the question I go back to and I started asking this to the folks like Sarah and Andriana is if you were to look at yourself when you're 4 or 5 years old, the earliest memory of you, and I say this because I have a life coach and he asked me, he said, Mike, take the earliest memory of you and look yourself in the eyes and tell yourself that it's going to be okay. Because to just go back to your childhood and know what you've gone through with the bullying and where you are now, what would you tell that 5-year-old girl with the, probably the ponytails, right? And the scuffed up leg and you're just coming out of a day playing in the garden. What would you tell that 5-year-old?
I would tell her that she is strong, she is irreplaceable, she is intelligent, she is brave, and she is courageous. And one day, she is going to change the world by standing up for victims of bullying everywhere.
Oh, that's a great one. That's a great one. That reminds me, I saw the video of you too. You going on the beach, and
Oh, that was so
these
fun.
Miss
I
New
loved
Jersey
it.
women in the beach. I mean, all you
Oh.
do is see them flailing in the beach. But it was a great one. It was a really great one. So that's
Thank
great. So again, when are you going to be there? So what can people vote? Is this something that's voted only into the contest, or can people dial in votes? Remember like American Idol?
Right. So the only way that you can technically vote is to vote for People's Choice. I believe that the vote ends on July 1st.
Wait,
Yes.
how do you find out the contestants and how to vote?
So you would go to the Miss International website.
Is it
And-
missinternational.com?
No, it's not. It's a little complicated. It's miss-international.us.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen. No, by the way, nobody else would have known that, Mary.
I knew it. I was like, she knows it.
She knows that's
Mary
great.
was testing me. She's like, she better know it.
That's great. That-
Plus.
okay, so then are you a number like 10, 7, 3?
We won't receive those numbers until during pageant week. So for right now, if you go onto the website and then there's a section that says contestants, if you click on that, you'll see Miss Garden City, you'll see Miss New Jersey, you'll see Miss New York. You just scroll down, you can find me in my headshot.
Are you allowed to post this on your social media platform to vote for me? Are you allowed to do that?
Yes,
Oh,
I am.
that's
But-
great.
Yes, but my priority is to become the next Miss International, not to be the People's Choice winner.
You're talking about Megan
Yes.
Vladik. Oh, so she would be crowning you?
Yes.
Wow. Megan, an Italian under 5'7", could be crowned.
I wouldn't even have to.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't even have to squat.
That's right. She'll be just like this. Wow, that would be great. I hope she sees that. Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, we'll have to edit that little intro. We'll have actually Jimmy Neutron. Why do I call you Jimmy Neutron?
It's actually really funny because so Rishi in the back. So there's a group of 5 of us and our other friend Tyler and our other friend Harley. We call Jimmy.
You got Harley and Tyler and Jimmy Neutron. You like got a whole comic book series.
We do. And I'm Jax. So Rishi coined that nickname.
So Jimmy Neutron, but where did you get Jimmy Neutron from? Is it because of the cartoon, the comic?
Pretty much, yeah.
Because he doesn't look like Jimmy Neutron.
No.
He looks
not
like he
at all.
could beat the hell out of me. That's what he looks like. Jimmy could beat the hell out of me. That's his new nickname. But it was a great introduction. He really, when I went to the pageant and he introduced himself to me. My name is Jimmy. I'm good friends with Jackie, and I said I know all about you. You guys have been
Yes.
friends for years. It could have been 9 years if you were on time, but it happened to be just 8. But
Oh,
that's okay.
excuse me.
It,
Again, Chick-fil-A.
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 You know what?
Hashtag Chick-fil-A.
But no, if there's anything I can say about Adam, Adam is always early for the next party.
Yes.
Always early.
I'm
Get that hashtag trending, please.
Hashtag early for the next
Okay,
party.
so we're gonna create that one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the beautiful Miss Jacqueline DiPasquale. Woo!